Native people rarely survived winter by magic. They survived it by design.
When the world outside turned deadly, everything inside these lodges was carefully planned.
They did not tolerate cold better. They changed how they lived inside it.
This is how they made it through weeks when winter barely let the light in.
First, they treated fire like a tool, not a toy.
Small, steady flames heated their world without wasting precious fuel.
They charged stones with fire so warmth could last after flames slept.
They warmed the ground from below so cold could not creep into their bones.
Where each person slept was strategy, not accident.
They hunted for leaks of cold the way they hunted animals.
Staying warm tomorrow began with hard work today.
They chose dry standing wood, light, dead trunks that burned hot and quick.
Wood gathering was a shared job, matched to the storm's strength and their own. They moved more wood with less effort by letting the snow itself help carry the burden. Fuel was guarded like food, off the ground, close at hand, ready for the next long night.
They turned big logs into precisely sized firewood for steady, low flames.
Everything about their fire was measured. How big, how hot, how long.
They read the snow's story. Who passed? How long ago? How worth the chase? They chose carefully. Enough meat for many days, not reckless pursuit in deadly wind. Every successful hunt was not just dinner. It was days of survival stored in flesh and fat. They knew exactly what each part could do for them.
Fat kept their bodies burning slow and strong when the air wanted to steal heat.
They sheared warmth from inside first, then from the fire. The youngest and oldest were always the first people in the food defended.
They turned today's hunt into tomorrow's security.
Even this narrow column of warm air did double work.
Long winter nights could crush lonely hearts, unless something stronger bound people together inside.
Their greatest heater was community. Stories carried warmth that flames could not. They learned that their people had passed tests like this many times before. Even in stories, they taught the design of survival.
Then came the kind of storm that punishes every mistake. Preparation turned fear into a checklist, not chaos. They turned the storm's own weapon into a thicker wall. Group sleep turned many fragile bodies into one strong center of heat. No one slept alone, where the cold pushed hardest. Someone always watched the line between warmth and waste.
Beyond the hides, winter tried its best to erase them from the land.
Careful firecraft meant they could keep breathing when the air turned mean.
They filled the lodge with their own sound, so the storm's voice would not be.
Touch and song held their minds in place, while the world outside shook.
Hours of cold became a series of small, correct decisions.
Beyond the hides, winter slowly loosened its grip, but the Lakota lodges still held their small island of life.
They emerged not surprised by the snow, but ready to move through it. The same design that protected them before the storm still stood afterward. They never pretended winter was finished just because one storm had passed. They matched their effort to what the land could give without breaking themselves.
Knowledge of numbers, of wood, of food, of time was another shield. They did not trust to toughness. They trusted to planning. Our people did not survive winters because our bodies loved cold, but because our minds respected it. He explained that their people survived not because their bodies loved the cold, but because their minds respected it and planned for it.
They understood that intelligence and discipline, not some myth of natural toughness, kept their hearts beating through the worst of the cold.
Every habit, every small system, pressed back against the freezing dark.
They treated survival as a shared job, never a solitary test.
Their designs did not cancel the cold, but they made a place within it where life could continue.
Against such a land, no human wins by endurance alone.
They won by thinking ahead, caring for one another, and respecting what winter could do.
Confidence came not from luck, but from repeated practice. Survival became routine, not emergency.
Mind, bod, and community moved together like one organism against the cold.
They were never immune to winter. They survived because they understood it deeply.
That is why Native Americans rarely froze to death in extreme winters. Not from magic toughness,